Welcome everybody to Studio 43 at the NASCAR production facility for this amazing event that we're about to have. I am Mamba Smith. I'm sitting next to Kyle Larson, Team Hendrick Motorsports driver, and Vice Chairman Jeff Gordon. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Look.
How's Mamba?
Mamba's great. You know Mamba's great. Jeff, you're looking very dapper
like
with
the
the new
blue
vest.
vest?
Yeah, I felt like that blue would have been the right way for me to go today.
I think so. Yeah, we can get you one.
Don't tease me with a good time. I'm happy to rep it. Listen, guys, the Hendrick 1100 is back on tap for 2025. Last year it didn't quite go exactly how you wanted to. A lot of speed with both cars, Kyle, but I feel like this year you have some unfinished business to do running the Indianapolis 500 and then the Coke 600.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year we wanted to do 1,100 miles, and unfortunately the weather got in the middle of that, and so that was a huge bummer, but a lot of motivation for us to do it again this year, and hope and pray that the weather is good and our cars have equal or better speed than they did last year. So last year had all the ingredients of a perfect deal, and just Sunday it finally all kind of collapsed, but it was a fun experience, and I look forward to doing it again.
Jeff, from the business end, from the team side, some unfinished business for you guys as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was so much fun, being a part of it, coming together with McLaren and bringing Hendrick Motorsports, HendrickCars.com all together, seeing Kyle kind of live out, a dream, maybe even vicariously living through him a little bit myself. But, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes to put something like this together, from, obviously the business side, coordinating, getting him in a car, getting him comfortable. But we couldn't have found a better partnership, than the one we've put together between McLaren and Hendrick Motorsports. And it went really well, like Kyle said, all the way up until Sunday. So, when we left that race, we were pretty bummed out. And then it was about a month later, we got with Rick, and it was like, hey, what do you think about doing this again? And I think the job that Kyle did, the exposure the partners got, and the fun that Rick was having watching, this all unfold, I think, he's motivated to do it and do it even better this time.
Absolutely. Listen, guys, we got both cars in studio here. I got to be honest, they're looking pretty racy. Kyle, what do you think about the paint scheme for the cars this year?
Yeah, sick. I love it. Last year's cars were awesome as well, but I don't know, I just feel like I've never seen an Indy car kind of with the detail that this one has, and then to tie it into the Cup car looks awesome. So they look fast. I know they'll be fast, and hopefully we can get in victory lane.
Jeff, you've always driven cool-looking cars. Would you have liked to drive either one of these things?
I mean, I didn't know how we could step it up from last
Need
year.
some rainbows on.
Need a little bit more.
Flames, man.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
But no, they've definitely stepped it up. We've got some new partners. With Amazon Prime being on board this year too. So, but yeah, I think obviously, when you're talking about a McLaren Indy car, you've got to have the papaya, so it has that. But then Hendrick Cars' blue is on there. And last year, there were some other cars that looked similar. Yeah. So I know Rick and I were always like, man, nope, that's not him. That's right. And so hopefully this car stands out even more than last year.
Listen, I know the merch sales were out of control. You saw the merch was everywhere, whether it was IndyCar races, NASCAR races, dirt races, the merch was everywhere. You guys talked about the relationship between Aaron McLaren and Hendrick Motorsports. How has that grown? The first time around, you're starting to feel people out, but now you're year two, and you get to do it back-to-back. So how's that relationship grown?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff can probably speak on that more than me, but for myself, I had a great time working with their team last year. We had a lot of people from the IndyCar side of things, but even I think from the Formula One side came over to help with our team specifically for the 500s. So that was cool. And then I believe this weekend some of my team will be at Darlington to just kind of listen to how I communicate, how Cliff and I work together. So I think that'll be important for the month of May and all that, and because it's a huge event, right? But like, you've got 2 weeks to kind of like learn each other and get to working together. So thankfully, I feel like I'm pretty easy to work with. But yeah, I look forward to getting back together with some of the people that were on our team last year, and then meeting the new members we have for this year.
Yeah, Jeff, for you guys, how has this kind of kept growing and blossoming?
Yeah, I mean, it truly is a collaboration because we both have commonality in Chevrolet, so we get to, see how they do things with Chevrolet and using all the technical tools there, as well as, how we use them on the stock car, NASCAR side of things. Zach Brown and I have been, friends for a long time. We've done business together, so that was a natural. And then TK, seeing Tony Kanaan, kind of get himself into a position maybe similar to mine, right, at Hendrick, and work with him. We've been friends for a long time. I've always had a ton of respect for him. Worked with him last year, but now we're working much closer together. And so we actually had a meeting recently, and really excited about the changes that, and the people that they've added, and just where they're headed with their program this year as we prepare for Indy. Obviously Chevrolet and the power plan and the Aero Kit has a big, a lot to do with it. But yeah, it's fun to work together with one form of motorsports, as far as how we utilize tools and we can learn from one another, but in two completely different types of race cars. So it's a great partnership, and it continues to grow.
I think something that you kind of touched on, how Tony and Zach, you've known them both for a long time. So being able to work with friends doesn't always work out that way. So I know that must be a little extra for you.
Well, I mean, when you collaborate in a way where it's transparent and open, and you cover the business side of it, and I think we have a good enough understanding with how each of our industries and our businesses work, that we could have the tough conversations when we need to, and hey, let's put this together. We want to do it again. We went through all the tough work, I think, the first time around. This was certainly a little bit easier and smoother. Now it's about just getting him back in the car on the racetrack. Unfortunately, he's got to do another rookie orientation again, and I know as smooth as that went last year, to go well again. But last year we actually had an additional test in Phoenix. Okay. So I don't know that that's necessary this time because of running a race, and so I'm pretty excited to see what he's learned, what the team's learned, and then of course getting him to Charlotte and running this hot rod, because that thing was really fast last year.
That thing was ready to rip when you got there. Kyle, let's talk about goals, guys. The goal for the 500, the goal for the 600, and then also touch on the overall goal for the combination.
I think for myself, completing 1,100 miles is the ultimate goal, or at least the first goal in mind. Obviously, I want to run well in both of them. I think there's a legitimate shot to win the Cup race that weekend. We're always really good on mile and a halves. Our car was extremely good last year, so that was a bummer. And then on the IndyCar side of it, the Indy 500, I felt like last year I could have finished, 4th to 7th or 8th if I didn't, speed on pit road. So I think somewhere in that window, obviously I would love to win the Indy 500, but I know how difficult that is. But two, I mean, I felt like the experience that I had last year and living through it, I'll be better prepared for this year. And, I felt like the race was pretty straightforward. I didn't think that it was too different than a Cup race, especially at Indy. So, yeah, I think there was a lot that I learned throughout the couple weeks there last year that I think, balance-wise, looking for this year to be a little bit better in the race. So I think there's definitely opportunity to do even better than we did last year, and I thought last year went great. Yeah.
What do you think, Jeff? What other goals do you guys have on your end?
The goal is to be in Charlotte when the green flag drops. That's number one. There's a lot of things. I mean, first of all, being a part of the Indy 500 is really special. It's just an incredible event, one I watched as a kid. But so is the 600. So you have two of the biggest races in the world, two very special events on Memorial Day weekend. So just the pageantry and experience of the Indy 500 to kick it off, and watch Kyle, you'll be competitive there, would certainly be great. And then like I said, have everything go smooth and get to Charlotte to be able to get in that car and see the whole 1100. As Kyle mentioned, the other side of this is that we've been shooting a documentary and filming and documenting really everything since day one of when this all started, first time he was ever in the car. So we have a lot, already, and I think it's about completing the story of the 1100 and then putting that out there of what this experience has been like through his eyes, the team, the collaboration, and really what it takes. This is no small feat, and we realize how difficult that can be and some of the decision making that goes into it, like the toughest one we had to make last year. This year, we've already announced and said we will. Unfortunately, if we have to, and we hope that doesn't happen, but we will be leaving Indy to make sure that he's starting the 600 here in Charlotte.
Yeah, fingers crossed we don't have to worry about that little part of it. Kyle, preparation. Jeff was just talking about there's a lot that goes into it. For your side, preparation for your body, the mind, and because it's a lot of traveling back and forth. What does the prep go? What does that look like? And then what have you learned from the first time that you think you might do different this time?
So I thought I was well prepared the first time around. So I don't think there was much I would do different. I felt like I did a good job with my nutrition and my fitness and all that. And I think too, it's surprising for people like, you mentioned it's a lot of traveling back and forth. It's actually not. It's probably, that's the least amount of travel that I have probably throughout the summer, really. Like
for the average human being.
For the average human being, it might be a lot. But for me, it was nice. Like, it was really relaxing. I feel like I could really focus on the Indy 500 last year. Typically a week for me, I'm flying here and there and back and forth and juggling kids and all that. And last year I was in my motorhome every day, in Indy. On the weekend, sure, I flew to North Wilkesboro to run the All-Star race, flew right back. That was quick. The next week, went to Charlotte on Saturday, came back, race, went to Charlotte on Sunday. So it wasn't a big deal at all. It was not difficult one bit for the stress of travel. It was very, very nice, honestly, to sit around. The days are so long too in Indy.
Yeah.
Like the practice days are, 9 to 5, but there's so much downtime in that like you're really relaxing most of the time you're there. So maybe others wouldn't feel that way, but for my lifestyle, what I'm used to, it was pretty simple.
Yeah, Jeffy's the average person. That'd be a lot for someone who's on the road as much as Kyle's probably not too bad.
Yeah, he makes it look easy sometimes, but I was super impressed with the effort that he puts into it, and it goes to show you why he's good at his craft. He kind of brushes it off as if whatever, this is easy, that, but he puts a ton of effort into learning the data, analyzing the data, really absorbing all the information. I think because he races so much, so many different types of cars, adapting to a new situation is probably not as difficult for him as maybe it would be for others, and he can jump from one to another. But I think still, right, I think he learned the Indy 500, it's all about the small details. Mm-hmm. And so, executing that, I know it's a hybrid, this year, so maybe there's a few differences there. But, 500 miles, you just, in the Indy 500, can't make any mistakes. And so, I'm super curious to see where the speed's at, because, he was right up to speed.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the funnest days for me was qualifying. Like to see them go out, have the speed, work themselves into a position to really, be on the front row. That was pretty amazing. And the car's on edge, and you're tuning it, and you're trimming it out, going faster, faster, faster. And, it's the first time he's really doing this, because actually they don't even really practice it much. Yeah. And, to see the whole team and Kyle execute that was, I think, a highlight for me for the month of May.
I think it was a highlight for a lot of us. I think it's almost like the Olympics. You're pulling for, all the NASCAR industry is like, show them that we can drive anything, So I think that was really a big highlight for everyone. Guys, we got some media questions that have come in, so I'm going to ask you a couple. This one's for Kyle. Jeff, you just alluded to the hybrid engine. Now that you've been in the IndyCar last year, albeit not with the hybrid engine, what do you hope to accomplish in the test in the few weeks at IMS?
Yeah, I think for me, with the test here in a few weeks, just getting reacclimated to the cockpit. I got to get a first look at the wheel last week. So buttons are kind of in different spots, and there's some dials now, and just kind of see like what all you're doing in the car. Like when you look at the wheel, it's super complicating and all that, but once I realized, like once I got in the car last year, I'm like, oh, you're really only worried about, you know, one dial maybe and a couple buttons. But this year with the hybrid, I feel like you've got a little bit more maybe going on, you know, throughout a lap. So we'll see. So I'm just excited to get some laps, get, you know, familiar with the visuals, the, you know, the clutch, the leaving the pit stall, the coming into a pit stall, like all the little details that it takes to be good in the race. So kind of just getting back into the flow of things there. Thankfully, though, I do feel like although they look different and all that, and there's, you know, less things going on in that, the style of race is so similar. So I feel like there's not a lot to learn, you know, once you get into the, you know, racing situation.
Yeah. This is for both of you guys. What NASCAR sessions at North Wilkesboro and Charlotte will Kyle miss, and who will be in the Cup car for those sessions?
Have we announced this yet?
I don't even know the answer. So.
Jeff, I guess it's a question for you.
Well, the last that I had heard is that we'll probably have a JRM, you know, driver and somebody that fits in his seat. And I mean, like last year was really cool to have Kevin, you know, get in the car. It was fun for the team and everybody, but it was a lot of work to swap, you know, from Kevin's seat and everything that's, you know, was for Kevin from Kyle's, and swap that over, and it was a lot of work and effort, and so, you know, we feel like, you know, keeping it a little bit more simplified this year. So I don't know if that announcement's been made yet, but you can do the math and put it together. And no, it's not going to be Carl Edwards.
I was about to say, Kyle's been putting Carl Edwards out there, so, you know.
But I guess it would be about the same. I don't even know if the full schedule's come out for Indy yet, but it'll probably be the same sessions that he will be missing as last year. But yeah, somebody will be in the car, getting laps in the car, and getting the car prepared.
Okay, cool. 5 + 2 is 7, so that makes sense. For both of you guys, on the IndyCar side, is the plan still for Tony Kanaan to be the backup? And if so, any idea when he would get in the car for testing or practice?
Yeah, we had a meeting about that the other day. So yeah, that's the obvious choice, but clearly you have to get prepared for that. So we have a plan during April, during that test he's going to be doing, where, you know, he'll get his rookie orientation kind of cleared now the way, and then Tony will get in at some point and also do the same, and, you know, because he has to do it too, believe it or not, and knock that out, and that way both drivers are ready just in case.
Jeff, is there any bit of, you know, a little bit of jealousy that you get to, that Kyle gets to do this and you never, because we talked about off camera that you never got an opportunity to do both? You
know, I was not at the beginning, but then when I got to see him in the car having fun, doing a great job, I'm like, maybe I should have tried that. But you know, I'm in such a great place that I love supporting the team, supporting our drivers, you know, our partners like Hendrick Cars and Amazon Prime, and you know, partnering with Arrow McLaren. I like being a part of the business side of it and seeing these things come together. Even though there's challenges and a lot of work that goes into it, seeing the reward is seeing him go out there and perform at a high level and complete 1,100 miles.
That's right.
And hopefully win one or both of these races. You know, I will enjoy it almost as much as if I was driving.
Kyle, he talks about how much fun you have or look like you're having doing both. What is the most fun part about this process for you?
Yeah, good question. It's probably hard for me to pick like the one thing that's the most fun, because there's a lot that I enjoy. You know, from Indy last year, I was blown away with how many fans are there every day to watch practice. You know, so that was really cool. I just felt like I was a part of a huge event. And then for me, you know, going through all the Indy stuff in Indianapolis is, I mean, everything is really cool. I could go through everything about that. That was really cool. But then coming back to, you know, when I got to just briefly be at the track for the NASCAR stuff was really cool. Like when I flew to choppered into North Wilkesboro, and like, you just see the crowd going crazy, and you can hear them, screaming at you. The drivers and the pit crew members and mechanics are coming up asking you about it and rooting you on. So the support there was cool. And then same thing, when we got back to Charlotte for practice and qualifying the next week, it was like all the same thing all over again. So just feeling like I had the support from hundreds of thousands, millions of people was really cool.
That's awesome. Well, the Hendrick 1100 presented by Prime Video will also include a full-length doc that Jeff talked about earlier, chronicling Larson's quest to compete and win in these two marquee events on the same day. The doc will launch sometime next year, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. Jeff, Kyle, thank you guys for joining us today. Happy to be a part of this announcement. Kyle, I feel like I keep announcing new stuff with you every week now. So
I love
it's going good. It's good to see you guys.
We'll see you next week.
Appreciate everybody, huh?
We'll see you next week for some other.
Yeah, we have something else, I'm sure. We don't know yet. Thank you guys so much.